Hello everybody, my name is Jules Prime, and today I will be discussing whether classic Sonic is from an alternate timeline or dimension. This is a topic that I've seen quite a few people talk about, and it's one that I'm interested in talking about myself. So I thought I'd give my take on the situation to see whether classic Sonic really is from an alternate timeline or dimension. So for those who are wondering why this is even a topic of discussion in the Sonic community, it's because Sonic lore, especially the video game lore, is pretty inconsistent. In Sonic Generations, they refer to the classic characters as their past selves. This would seem to imply that the classic characters went through the same events, if not very similar events, up until the timeline split in Sonic Generations.
Eggman! But how?
He had a little help.
Dr. Robotnik!
Nobody calls me that anymore. If you would be so kind as to explain, gentleman genius Dr. Eggman from the future. It will be my pleasure, most excellent and efficacious Dr. Eggman of the past.
However, in Sonic Forces, it was said that classic Sonic is from an alternate dimension, rather than being from an alternate timeline.
Huh? Sonic? You're alive! Wait, what? Oh, you're that Sonic from another dimension, aren't you? Right, that makes sense, I think. Do you know how you got here? Maybe the power that Eggman is using is somehow affecting other dimensions.
But it doesn't end there, because for some reason at the South by Southwest 2019 Sonic panel, it was confirmed by Takashi Iizuka that classic Sonic was from an alternate timeline rather than being from an alternate dimension.
And I was wondering if Mania Sonic was the one from Generations, then does that mean that Sonic Forces is its own timeline and it's actually like not a part of the rest of the Sonic games?
Good question. So your question is, because classic Sonic goes into the modern world, then comes back, does that mean there's two different timelines? That's what you're asking?
Yes.
Right?
So modern Sonic does follow the same timeline. He does exist in that single timeline. Classic Sonic is kind of in his own separate timeline. And those titles do have, the crossover, but they're both in their own separate timelines. Continuous.
Yes is your answer.
All right.
So it appears they can't make up their mind on the topic, but for now they're settling for it being an alternate timeline. And now moving on with the point of the video, you're probably wondering what my opinion is. To be honest, I really think that classic Sonic is from an alternate dimension. And I know by saying this I'm technically going against what Takashi Iizuka said, but to be honest, I don't think it really matters that much. And I think you'll start to see why it doesn't really matter that much as we start to move on. Now I think it makes sense that people think classic Sonic is the past version of modern Sonic, however that brings up a pretty big problem despite being a pretty minor detail. And that's the fact that classic Sonic doesn't have green eyes. The very fact that classic Sonic doesn't have green eyes is the only reason I can think of that stops him from being an alternate timeline version of modern Sonic. And allow me to explain why. The way I see it is that there's only two ways to explain how classic Sonic got his green eyes. You could either say he got them through chaos energy or naturally through aging. So basically I decided to start with chaos energy because I think it's a bit more of an interesting argument. Basically for some reason people think that classic Sonic got his green eyes through chaos energy because in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, when he turned super, he had green eyes. Interestingly enough, this is the only time that classic Sonic had green eyes, and I guess led to him getting them later down in the line. Now I don't think this is how classic Sonic got his green eyes, because Sonic is the only character in this game that went super besides Mecha Sonic. Sure, Knuckles and Tails can go super in that game, but it's also considered non-canon if they do. So at the end of the day, since Sonic was the only one of them to go super, he would be the only one to get his green eyes. However, for argument's sake, let's say that chaos energy in general is what gives you your colored eyes. This would definitely open up more possibilities, as many characters have actually had some form of connection to chaos energy in one way, shape, or form. However, even if you were to go on a limb and say that would be the case, it wouldn't explain a character like Cream the Rabbit, a character who would have had no connection to chaos energy prior to her meeting Sonic. And it's because of that reason that I think classic Sonic couldn't have gotten his green eyes through chaos energy. So while I don't think that classic Sonic got his green eyes through chaos energy, that's not to say that it's completely impossible. So I thought it would be fun if I can make my own little Sonic conspiracy theory to explain how every character got their colored eyes. Warning, this theory is a stretch. In Sonic 3 and Knuckles, what if when Sonic and Eggman were fighting over the Master Emerald, since Sonic was in his super form and Eggman was using the Master Emerald, this might have triggered something, maybe like some kind of version of Chaos Control. Since they were using both the Master Emerald and all 7 Chaos Emeralds for both good and evil, while traveling around the planet at super speed, this could create any number of chaotic results. Sort of as a result of that battle, it led to a bit of an evolution for the people of Sonic's world. This would result in people getting different color eyes, and could even explain some of the more drastic design changes between classic and modern. So yeah, even though this is a bit of a stretch, I still think it's a pretty fun theory to think about, even if you don't believe it. Anyway, it's time to move on to the aging theory, which in my opinion seems to be less believable than the chaos energy theory. Basically, people think that classic Sonic grows up to become modern Sonic. And you know, I mean, it's actually pretty simple. But you know what isn't so simple? Explaining just exactly how is that even possible. In Sonic Adventure, there are these flashbacks that show classic events happening with their modern character designs, such as Tails meeting Sonic for the first time and Sonic trying to save Amy and Sonic CD. Now, since Sonic Adventure is such an old game, you could probably say that they retcon this out in favor of classic Sonic. However, by doing that, they're technically retconning a retcon, which I guess is a good thing because they're fixing their mistakes, so that's good? I don't know. But getting back on topic, it really doesn't matter if they retcon that or not, because it still doesn't explain these two characters. Cream the Rabbit, a 6-year-old modern character with colored eyes, and Classic Vector the Crocodile, who is a 16-year-old classic character with black eyes. And for anyone out there wondering, modern Vector is actually 20 years old. Therefore, this should be making up for the age difference between modern and classic characters. So I think it's safe to say, after taking everything into consideration, that classic Sonic didn't get his green eyes through aging. However, I thought it'd be fun if I could bring up another mini Sonic conspiracy theory, this time trying to explain how every character got their colored eyes through aging while also taking everything into consideration. Okay, so let me warn you that this is definitely going to be a lot more of a stretch than the last one, but what if every Sonic character gets their colored eyes at random points in time? So instead of there being a dedicated age to where you get your colored eyes, it just randomly happens. Given that would mean that all characters conveniently got their eye colors around the same point in time. Yeah, I know it's pretty unrealistic, but technically not impossible if they were to come out and say this. However, I don't think that anyone's gonna buy it, considering the fact that there are still people complaining about the two worlds theory. However, I think it's a fun little idea, even if no one will ever believe it. Now to move on to my final point. In Sonic Generations, why is it that they refer to the classic characters as their past selves? Well, the only thing I could really think about for this is that it's a bit of self-awareness on their part. For instance, in Sonic Generations, that was a game to celebrate Sonic's 20th anniversary, and in that game, it was Sonic's birthday. However, even though it takes place on Sonic's birthday, he's still canonically 15, even though he should be 16. I guess a different way to put it is, kinda like how Infinite had said that Sonic could be an Eggman for decades, despite the fact that Sonic's only 15 years old in canon. So it makes sense that they refer to the classic versions as their past selves, because that's how we the players would have seen it. In canon, Sonic's only 15, but to us, he's almost 30 years old by now. And with all that being said, that's really all I have to say about this topic. Now, I do think that classic Sonic is from an alternate dimension because it would be the easiest way to explain how he got his green eyes. Instead of having to mostly be restricted by modern Sonic's past, this Sonic could have been born in an alternate dimension where it's normal for everyone to have black eyes. And modern Sonic could have been born in a world where it's normal to have all colored eyes. I also thought it'd be worth mentioning that characters like Mighty and Ray are exclusively in the classic world, meaning that maybe they only exist in that dimension. Now, I know some of you still may disagree and you think he's from an alternate timeline, but currently I don't really think that's the case. And with all that being said, this video is just about over. So real quick, I'd like to apologize since this video took a lot longer than I expected it to. It's been about 6 months since I've uploaded my last video, but that's not completely without reason. It all started when the laptop I was using stopped charging, which means I couldn't record my videos. So I ended up ordering 2 new chargers online, but neither of them ended up working, so it was kind of a waste of time. So after that, I had to end up getting a different laptop so I could resume recording. But after that, it turns out that I couldn't find the cable to my microphone, so I couldn't record until I got another one. And on top of all that, all the audio files I had previously recorded were all corrupted. And on top of all that, I ended up losing my notebook which had my script in it. So after that series of unfortunate events, I decided to just restart the entire project. So if it sounds like I'm making excuses, that's really because I am. I feel like a lot of the bad things that happened could have ended up being avoided. And I also felt like I was needlessly procrastinating when I shouldn't have been. There's days where I didn't even record or edit my videos even though I had the opportunity to. And I'd just like to apologize since I feel like you guys have already gone long enough without a video. So that's why I decided that I'm going to make a promise right here on video. I promise that we'll make 2 videos next month, and with the way things are going right now, this is a promise that I definitely intend on keeping. And hopefully you guys believe in that. But anyway, this is really the end of the video. I strongly recommend you leave a comment whether you liked or disliked this theory, and I'll do my best to get back to it whenever I can. And without further ado, this is Jules Prime, and I will hopefully see you all in the next video.